Hi, I'm Slightly Crazy Vegan. Thank you so much, Carnism Debunked, for having me on your channel.
Hey, I'm George Martin of Carnism Debunked, and today Slightly Crazy Vegan and I are going to be addressing this issue that we commonly hear as vegans, that veganism has some kind of white male hero worship problem, or that white males are unfairly put on a pedestal above everyone else.
So don't forget, guys, to subscribe and tick that bell icon.
One such example that shows there is a prevailing notion within the vegan movement that there is some kind of problem with the censoring of white males is this post from Joey Carbstrong's social media and the resulting comments. As you can see, many people took issue with the fact that this image showed 4 white males with large platforms in an allegedly white male-centered movement that doesn't make sufficient space for women or ethnic minorities. Slightly Crazy Vegan and I will be speaking about these guys and examining the mainstream vegan movement to see if this really is the case.
On Vice News, they wrote an article on James Aspey saying, when influential vegans shut out huge groups of people, it screws mainstream perceptions of what veganism is and what it can become. June said, which is a movement largely centered on compassion. Something I've noticed is Black and Indigenous and other people of color vegans just don't get a platform or the amount of exposure that these stereotypical white male vegans have. Many intersectional vegans have also made this claim. So I don't really understand. Like, vegans give credit to those who make an effort.
And this is not to say that there aren't many people out there who have put in tremendously hard work that aren't being recognised. There absolutely are. But when many of those people are white males themselves, and there are many, female and ethnic minority activists in the limelight, which we will cover later, it does weaken the argument that veganism has some kind of white male hero worship problem. But going back to the 4 guys in that image, are people really so naive as to forget the monumental and groundbreaking work these men have done for animal liberation? Let's remind some of those watching who may have forgotten.
James Aspey went an entire year without speaking. Something I would never do. Could never do it. And it was non-vegans who asked him to come on The Morning Show. He has continued on to make vegan speeches everywhere and does online outreach on social media. Joey Carbstrong was one of the first to start doing video outreach out on the street. He dedicated the little free time and money he had to going out on the streets with high quality recording equipment, asking people thought-provoking questions, inspiring others to do the same. He also has an incredible story of him being a former gang member involved in drugs and violence, who turned his life around after getting out of jail and spreads messages of peace, justice and equality, which deserves recognition. Earthling Ed co-founded Surge and put a huge amount of effort into organising the UK Animal Rights March every year, one of the largest vegan AR marches in the world, as well as making the documentary Land of Hope and Glory, a groundbreaking expose on UK farming. He also travels the world doing lectures to world-class universities and has turned countless people vegan through his work, not through being white male. Gary Yourofsky made an incredible speech that convinced a lot of people to go vegan, and worked very hard for the animal liberation movement since the 90s, possibly being responsible for changing more people than any other vegan.
And this only scratches the surface of what these guys have done. We could speak a lot longer on how these men have been instrumental in giving veganism recognition from an animal rights-based perspective.
So another thing that we need to point out is that negative information and negative opinions actually spread further and faster than positive ones.
That is to say, negative gossip, of which white male activists receive the most, I wonder whose fault that is, intersectionals, actually helps to celebritize people.
Oh my god, John Venus just uploaded a video talking about veganism. Did you hear what he said? I know, I can't believe it. Oh my god, did you see what Joey Carbstrong said? I know, right? Oh my god, did you hear about like James Aspey and like how he's like raising money for something but no one knows what? I know. I don't know.
Essentially, the more you gossip about these people and talk about how they have some kind of hero worship thing going on towards them, the more attention they will get. If you're one of these salty people who irrationally want white males to not have such a platform, here's an idea. Maybe stop fucking gossiping about them so much. Maybe start spreading gossip about your favourite female or ethnic minority activists instead. It's actually quite hilarious that call-out culture has actually had the opposite effect in many cases of what intersectionals are trying to achieve, and actually given us white males more attention than we would have ever had without it. So now let's focus on major organisations within animal rights and see if we see a white male centrism problem. If what the intersectionals are saying is true, it should be pretty easy to spot. Firstly, let's take a look at the main source of media within the online vegan community.
So what I would like to know is, who are these people that do all this work that don't get any platform because they're a minority? Like, who are these people? If you take a look at plant-based news and have a look at their Instagram account, you will see that they have countless different people, different races, different genders, people from all over the world.
So if we can't find a problem within the main source of media within the online vegan community, let's see who faces up the world's most globally recognised animal rights organisation, founded, of course, by a woman, Ingrid Newkirk.
Now, this is Peter's website. Let's take a look. So, the first thing you see is animals. Okay, so first thing you see is like this tiny picture of a white woman, so a woman. Okay, now here we have a black woman. Right, and more animals, more animals, more animals, animals. I'm guessing this is a girl, but I could be wrong. Okay, animals, people dressed up as animals. There's a girl, this looks like a guy, a white guy, here we go. So a white girl and a Latina. Okay, we do have a white girl here, so girls. Lots of girls, don't really see any guys. Lots and lots of animals. Oh, here we go, a white girl and a black girl. Girl, a white girl. A white woman. That looks like a white woman as well. But lots of animals. Animals. Just lots of animals. So, didn't really see any like white males here.
I wonder how quick these intersectionals who complained on that post by Joey will be to write into Peter now to complain about how female-centric their organisation is. What with them being so passionate about not having over-representation of one group, right? Or is their problem not so much with over-representation of one group, but rather with white males? Anyhow, now that we've looked at the main vegan media source, along with the organisation most associated with veganism by hundreds of millions worldwide, let's take a look at social media in general.
It's a bit ridiculous to say that minorities don't get a platform when let's take a look at these Instagram accounts. Here is Badass Vegan, who has 221,000 followers. We've got Fully Raw Christina on a whopping 1 million followers. 1 million followers. Okay, and now we've got One Great Vegan. She's really awesome. She's got 94,000 followers. She's actually really cool. You should check her out. She actually like sings as she like cooks. She's really amazing. But yeah, she's got like a huge platform.
We've also got Dominic Thompson, clocking a whopping 206,000 followers on Instagram.
And we've got other women. So High Carb Hannah has 261,000 followers. That's a lot.
And of course, the extremely well-known Freely, with 293,000 followers on Instagram.
Okay, and let's take a look at some of the white male. So Joey Carbstrong has 160,000 subscribers, and James Aspey has 237,000 subscribers. And of course, Earthling Ed, he's got 543,000, I should say followers. that many followers.
Damn, that's a huge amount, right? Well, guess what? Ed's social media fame has nothing on vegan social media superstar Tabitha Brown, with a gargantuan 3.5 million followers. A woman who, according to Wikipedia, gained immense internet popularity with her online video content that often incorporates veganism, humour and motivational speaking. Strange that there is allegedly a problem with white males being given a platform on here, when women like Tabitha and Christina are absolutely trouncing us white males into the ground, with even the likes of Ed eating these women's dust when it comes to popularity.
And it's not just Instagram, but if you take a look at YouTube, Cheap Lazy Vegan is an Asian woman, and she has 741,000 subscribers, which is really difficult to get, guys. As a YouTuber myself, there's a lot of work that goes into YouTube. So to get that many subscribers.
Similarly, we have Freely yet again with a huge 746,000 subscribers. Correlating closely with her Instagram following, Fully Raw Christina amasses a huge 1.2 million subscribers. Then of course we have Erin Janus with perhaps the most viewed animal rights video in the world, her infamous Dairy is Scary, which received 6.3 million views, getting her 240,000 subscribers despite creating hardly any content compared to most white male vegan YouTubers. High Carb Hannah amasses a whopping 805,000 subs on YouTube. And what would this video be without mentioning Vegan Gains, perhaps the face of the animal rights YouTube community, with 337,000 subscribers? And what about one of the world's most famous vegan activists, That Vegan Teacher, who had 1.6 million followers on TikTok before she became the victim of big tech censorship, making her the most followed animal rights presence on TikTok. I've spoken to That Vegan Teacher, Miss Katie, on many occasions, and she even confirmed to me recently that she gets stopped in the street when she goes out, like she is a celebrity. How many of these white male activists who supposedly have an unfairly large platform does that happen to? And I would imagine this happens to Freely and Ingrid Newkirk as well. And it certainly will happen to Tabitha Brown.
It has nothing to do with what minority group or whether you're white or whether you're a man or a woman. And it's all to do with hard work. Hard work gets you followers. Hard work gets you subscribers.
And when it comes to video-based vegan messaging, it's often the projects not done by white males that have the most notability. As mentioned earlier, Erin Janus's Dairy is Scary is probably the most well-known animal rights video on YouTube, more so than Gary's incredible speech. Similarly, the most talked about vegan documentary ever would be Seaspiracy, directed by a Middle Eastern man, Ali Tabrizi. And this leads me on to another point. One of the things that feeds into this narrative of there being a white male hero worship problem in veganism is that intersectionals and other woke elitists often mistake people who are not white as being white. As mentioned in my video, Why There's No Such Thing as White Veganism, I have lost count now of how many times I've seen vegans of various races being whitewashed by intersectionals who ignorantly label them as the wrong ethnicity due to being blinded by their hatred for white males. And this was evident recently with the claims that Seaspiracy was a display of white male saviorism, despite the fact that it was a Middle Eastern man and his wife going to places outside the Middle East, including white majority European countries like the UK and the Faroe Islands. You couldn't make this shit up. But now I'd like to talk to you about perhaps the most hypocritical aspect of this whole narrative. I call it the white male minority paradox. And this, for me, lays bare the true motives of intersectionals. Allow me to explain. Did you ever notice how intersectionals constantly complain about how there are too many men in things like speaker lineups for events, or indeed bemoan excessive male representation when the spotlight is on veganism. The argument goes that it's wrong to have such large male representation because the vegan movement is made up mostly of women, and thus this is unfair to have men getting the limelight in a movement that women make up the majority of. But wait a second, what do you notice here? Doesn't this logic sound in complete opposition to the logic intersectionals commonly use when it's white people? As an example, if a speaker lineup at an event in a white majority country was dominated by white people, intersectionals would say this: there are too many white people in the lineup. The vegan movement is overwhelmingly white. We need to be including more ethnic minorities. And you can apply this to other demographics as well. For example, they might say that there needs to be more trans people or disabled people in a lineup, seeing as cis people and able-bodied people make up the majority of the animal rights movement, and thus we need to make space for more trans and disabled activists. Figured out what the contradiction is yet? Basically, if intersectionals were to be consistent for a change, shouldn't their mantra actually be this? There are too many women in the speaker lineup. This movement is made up predominantly of women, and therefore men need to be given a platform. Essentially, intersectionals are all about, quote unquote, giving minorities in the vegan movement a voice until it comes to men. Again, if they actually want to be consistent here, then an image like this should, if anything, be celebrated for its male representation. And the inconsistency works the other way as well. If they want to remain holding the position that women should dominate the speaker lineup, seeing as they make up the majority of the movement, then they should hold the position that white people should dominate speaker lineups in white majority countries, seeing as most activists in white majority countries are white. To summarise, their position either has to be position A, women make up the majority of the vegan movement, therefore men need more of a spotlight, and whites make up the majority of the Western vegan movement, therefore ethnic minorities need more of a spotlight. Or position B, women make up the majority of the vegan movement, therefore women need more of a spotlight, and whites make up the majority of the Western vegan movement, therefore whites need more of a spotlight. You can't just mix and match between the two positions in order to suit your own agenda. Once again, you can't make this shit up. And it just goes to show the real reason this narrative of a white male hero worship problem is being pushed. It is straight up hatred. It is nothing but contempt for males, particularly white males. This movement doesn't have a problem with white male hero worship. It has a problem with anti-white male hatred. That image wouldn't have drawn such outrage if it were any other demographic, and this is a huge problem. It is sickening that people say that white males get the most credit and often for doing less, when white males have contributed so much to this movement, most of whom will never get the recognition they deserve, and will continue living in the shadows of other people. This isn't to say that those women and non-white people who do have gigantic platforms compared to us white males don't deserve them. This isn't taking anything away from them. As Slightly Crazy Vegan says, hard work gets you followers and recognition. But the point is, it does paint a very different picture from the one veganism's woke brigade is trying to paint. Are there white male activists who get a lot of attention? Absolutely. But as this image represents, these men often get mentioned in the same breath, meaning they do similar work and are often spoken about by people who admire that form of activism. It's nothing to do with their gender or skin colour. Trust me, if Dominic Thompson, Tabitha Brown, Erin Janus or Freely started doing video street outreach and simultaneously did animal rights lectures all over the world, we would never stop hearing their names. And this video only showcases a tiny selection of female and non-white activists who get the limelight. Open your eyes, stop being blinded by contempt and hatred, and you will see the movement that me and Slightly Crazy Vegans see. One where the problem of white male hero worship simply does not exist.